My name is Sergio Tavares. I'm an independent Portuguese reporter who was arrested and interrogated by the Brazilian Federal Police at Guarulhos Airport in São Paulo on February 25, 2024, when I was covering a demonstration for freedom on Avenida Paulista. My crime? I never knew. I was never told. They simply took me for several hours and questioned me about political issues, about elections and Supreme Court justices. What is your opinion of democracy in Brazil? What is your opinion of Alexandre de Moraes?
I have nothing to say.
What do you think about Flávio Dino?
Nothing.
Do you think Brazil's electronic orders are reliable?
I already told you. I don't have nothing to say.
But why on earth should Brazil's judiciary be interested in my opinion on these matters? And there I was, alone, just arrived in a Latin American country, and wondering, in disbelief, not knowing what was going to happen to me, where they were going to take me. Will I be arrested here in Brazil for my opinions? Will I be deported and prevented from covering the Freedom Rally? Will they kidnap me? Make me disappear without a trace? All sorts of scenarios were running through my head. However, I had a guarantee. I was sure that the world already knew I was there and what was happening to me, because before I was taken to the police station, still at immigration, I managed to send messages to thousands of contacts and published a video on my Instagram, warning that my passport had been taken away and that I didn't know why they were doing this to me. This video quickly reached the press, which began to question the legitimacy of this arrest. Meanwhile, a lawyer arrived to provide me with legal support, Dr. Eduardo Borgo, who was instrumental in ensuring that I remained silent until the end. I also breathed a sigh of relief when I received a phone call from the Portuguese embassy, assuring me that they were aware of my situation. Finally, the federal police officer stated that there were no charges against me and that I would be released. I left Guarulhos Airport with my face plastered across every newspaper and television screen in Brazil.
A Polícia Federal poderia questioná-lo sobre o visto de trabalho, mas jamais interrogá-lo sobre o que ele pensa do Brasil ou sobre qualquer outro tema. O que a Polícia Federal fez não condiz com o que somos, um Estado democrático.
At the same time, 1 million people waited on Paulista Avenue for the start of a massive demonstration for freedom and against the dictatorship of the judiciary. My face was also on the screens of every cell phone belonging to the protesters. After being released by the police, I was welcomed at the Bandeirantes Palace by the governor of São Paulo, where I also met with former Brazilian President Jair Bolsonaro and several senators. It was precisely in the entourage of the former president of Brazil that I was transported to the demonstration in São Paulo, where 1 million people had been waiting since dawn to hear Bolsonaro, the man they call the myth. While Bolsonaro was being showered with attention from the crowd, I climbed onto the stage mounted on a huge truck to capture images of the event. It was then that something extraordinary happened. The crowd recognized me and began to shout with joy and applaud. They were celebrating the presence of the Portuguese man who had come alone from across the ocean to give voice to those oppressed people, and who had himself been persecuted. At that moment, as tears streamed down my face, they handed me a microphone and asked me to convey my feelings to the crowd. It was there that I made a promise in front of 1 million people.
E pessoal, tudo bem? Deixa eu falar uma coisa para vocês. Primeiro eu queria pedir desculpas, tá? Por que desculpas? Olha, eu não sabia que o documentário do Sérgio Tavares seria dessa forma, né? Eu pensei que seria traduzido para vocês, em português, tá? Né? E ele não falou isso, pelo menos comigo. Então, para nós, vai adiantar o quê? A gente assistir se a gente não vai entender nada, né? Passa tão rápido, e eu odeio coisa assim, você tem que ficar lendo, eu não gosto, e passa rápido, enfim. Então, infelizmente, vamos deixar para uma outra hora que ele for transmitir, né, pessoal, aonde todo mundo possa entender. Você concorda comigo, pessoal? Tá? Concorda? Infelizmente, fica confuso, né, pra gente aqui, né? A gente fala a língua portuguesa, né, pessoal? Ué. A gente aqui, né, infelizmente eu peço desculpas a vocês, tá? Mas a hora que ele for traduzir pra gente em português, a nossa língua, né, que a gente ama, que a gente adora, que fala errado e etc e tal, né? Então, sim, mas dessa forma aí não tem como a gente transmitir para vocês, porque vai ficar um negócio sem graça. Quem concorda aí? Né? Sérgio Tavares, né, João? Deu mole aí, ué. Deu mole. É porque ele tá transmitindo, né, para o mundo todo, né? E ele não é brasileiro, né? É brasileiro, mas ficou um negócio complicado aí, ué. E nós aqui? E nós aqui? Se o Xandão é daqui, né? O problema é daqui, o Xandão, né? E o documentário é para denunciar o próprio Xandão, Então eu acho que tinha que ser português, né, pessoal? Né, pessoal? Vocês concordam comigo? Né? Então, eh, não ficou legal, e a hora que ele trazer então de verdade, um dublado pra gente, a gente vai sim transmitir ao vivo para cada um de vocês. Infelizmente, eu peço desculpa, não é culpa minha, né, a gente tá retransmitindo do canal dele, né, retransmitindo, mas infelizmente nós vamos ficar devendo isso pra você, essa denúncia, ô Tavares, pelo amor de Deus, cara, você tinha que transmitir isso aí pra nós, cara, né, dublado, senão fica ruim, uai, senão fica ruim pra nós, uai. Eu odeio ficar lendo, não sei o quê, papá, ih, pessoal, eu não gosto disso, tá. E ainda tem uma legenda em cima da outra, né, com todo o respeito que eu tenho ao Sergio Tavares, ele já esteve aqui 2 vezes comigo, tenho o maior respeito por ele, mas quero dizer que ele deu mole nisso aí, tá, deu mole. Se o problema todo aqui, né, no canal do Tavares está legendado. Tá não, nós estamos transmitindo o canal dele mesmo, né, olha aí pra mim, você ver se já melhorou aí, se já mas não, nós estamos transmitindo o canal dele mesmo, tá aqui, o canal dele tá aqui, ó, não tá aqui, ó, Sergio Tavares, colocar agora aqui pra vocês aí, ó, aqui. Aqui, ó, colocar agora, hein, canal dele, ó, tá aqui, ó. Aí, ó.
Took over the position left vacant after the strange death of Teori Zavosky, his predecessor, whose death was reported as an accident after the small plane he was traveling in crashed. However, this theory was denied by Teori's son, who insists that his father was murdered. Coincidentally, the federal police officer who led the investigation into this accident, Adriano Antonio Suarez, was shot dead shortly afterwards. In this way, Moraes would end up taking the place of the possibly murdered Zavasky, at a time when there were allegations that he had good relations with the PCC due to services provided by his...
Aí, ó. Ele colocou um em cima do outro. Olha lá. É uma dublagem em cima do outro. Embaixo tá português, ó. Embaixo. Mas em cima tem outra dublagem em cima. Olha lá, o que cobre a outra. Aí fica ruim, né? Olha lá, ó. Olha lá, ó. Aparece o ministro Alexandre de Moraes agora, ó. Aí você pode ver que embaixo tem em português, ó. Ó. Tá vendo?
A isenção necessária para ser revisor da Lava Jato. Tendo sido ministro desse governo, ministro da Justiça, 5 colegas seus como do Ministério estão sendo investigados. O senhor se acha isento?
Moraes, formerly a lawyer for those convicted in Operation Lava Jato, thus became a Supreme Court justice, and even the judge responsible for that case. It came as no surprise that several individuals indicted in that scandal were present at his inauguration as a minister of the Supreme.
O ministro Alexandre de Moraes tomou posse ontem no Supremo. Assume também a função de revisor das ações da Lava Jato. Ontem na posse estavam muitos políticos, incluindo vários citados na Lava Jato.
What is certain is that Moraes became a Supreme Court justice without ever having been a judge, rising in politics thanks to those who are currently at the helm of the Brazilian government, Lula and Halkman. On the day he took office, Moraes swore to uphold the Constitution.
Prometo, venho fielmente cumprir os deveres do cargo de ministro do Supremo Tribunal Federal, em conformidade com a Constituição e as leis da República.
However, what we have seen him do since then is precisely the opposite. He has initiated political persecution of Bolsonaro and his allies, with censorship, serious human rights violations, and even electoral fraud with foreign interference. For this reason, he has been the main target of thousands of demonstrations across Brazil and has faced several impeachment requests. In 2019, the STF and Alexandre de Moraes released from prison the man who helped him rise in politics, Lula da Silva, who had been sentenced to 12 years and 11 months for corruption and money laundering. Without ever having been acquitted, he...
Tá vendo aí? Ô, Tavares, cadê você, cara? Coloca pra nós aí, uai. Né? Eu fiquei esperando aí, ó, um tempão aí, ó. Não dá pra entender o Tavares, não, né? Eu, hein? Tavares, aí não, aí não. Infelizmente, nós vamos ficar devendo vocês, tá, pessoal? Nós vamos encerrar a live, tá bom? A hora que ele passar legendado, a gente transmite para vocês, beleza? Um abraço.